Hi guys. Happy Thursday. I'm coming at you live from my backyard. Just thought I'd give y'all a different scenery. Okay, so today I'm going to be doing science with y'all today. So we're going to start off with, or what we are talking about is the life cycle. So I want you to focus on the four different stages that the insect life cycle goes through. And then after the insect life cycle, we'll go through the plant life cycle. Um, so what is the life cycle? What's the end goal of the life cycle? To basically grow up, right? That's the purpose of the life cycle of the insect, right? To ultimately produce more other little insects, right? But that's also kind of like the goal of the plant life cycle as well. The end goal of any plant is to produce more fruit or seeds to ultimately grow even more so they can multiply. So that is the goal of both the plant life cycle and the insect life cycle. They both have that thing in common, that the end goal is to ultimately create more of themselves. Does that make sense? So the insects ultimately want to create more insects, right? So they have little spiders have little spider insects. Oh, can't think of spiders. Oh, it's making me itch. Okay, and then like the sunflower, the goal of the sunflower is to create more sunflower seeds. So ultimately, there will be more sunflowers, right? So the end goal is to always multiply. That is one thing that they have in common. Okay, so what we're going to start off with is a video of the. Ugh, I have brain farts. I'm sorry, guys. It's early. Um, the life cycle of insects. Okay, I want you to pay attention to the different stages that the insect goes through to ultimately create or multiply at the end, right? And create more life, right? So more little versions of themselves. Okay, so we're gonna watch that first, okay? So the insect life cycle. Y'all ready?
It's estimated that there are millions of different kinds of insects on the planet. Insects have fascinating life cycles. You compare. Compare the appearance of these two living things.
All right, guys. So what it's asking you to do is to compare how the appearance. So how do these two things look alike? So the appearance is how something looks. So on the outside, how do they kind of look like? So one thing that I kind of notice straight off the bat is kind of like they kind of look like they are in a shell. Like they would kind of have like a hard outer shell, right? And then if y'all notice down here, there's like it has little legs. You kind of can't really tell very well, but it kind of looks like it's got little legs over here, right? So this has legs, right? So that's one thing that they could have in common.
They look very different from each other. One is worm-like, and the other has legs and looks like an insect. It may seem hard to believe, but they're actually the same insect, just at different stages in their lives.
Okay, so the video said that this is the same insect. So what can we infer from the information that she gave us about this insect? So we can infer that this insect is probably like a beetle like this one, right? Kind of from the background knowledge that you already know, some information that you already know. What stage? Do you think that this insect is older or younger than this insect? So this insect is probably younger than this one. So if you said younger, you are right. Yay, give yourself a pat on the back.
Insects, and many other animals, go through a series of distinct changes called metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is the process of an animal changing form. We
Okay, so whenever I think of metamorphosis, this is gonna sound really bad, but y'all it's gonna make me sound really like old. Do y'all know the Power Rangers? I hope y'all know the Power Rangers because I mean, come on now. So the Power Rangers go into metamorphosis. So they change from their human form to like the Power Rangers that have like this awesome outer like suit and helmet and like fighting gear, right? So whenever you think of the word metamorphosis, I want you to think of the word or of the Power Rangers, how they change from looking normal to like looking like superheroes, okay?
We generally refer to these different forms as stages. Insects such as moths, butterflies, bees, and flies go through a type of metamorphosis called complete metamorphosis. In complete metamorphosis, an adult insect lays eggs. The eggs hatch into a worm like larva. Sometimes the larvae are called caterpillars, maggots, or grubs. After several days, weeks, or months, these organisms develop a pupa. A pupa is sometimes called a cocoon. Inside the pupa, adult structures begin to form. When the changes are complete, the pupa splits open and the adult emerges. Incomplete metamorphosis.
Okay, so let's back up. So this video just said that there are 4 different stages that an insect goes through, right? So the first one is what? What is it? What do y'all think it is? Egg. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yes, so an egg, right? So all insects start off as eggs, right? And then what happens once they are eggs? They turned into worm-like things called, starts with an L, larva, right? And then after the larva, they kind of form this outer shell, and they turn into pupa, right? And then after that, they turned into full adults, okay?
Does not involve as many stages as complete metamorphosis. Insects such as grasshoppers and termites, for example, undergo incomplete metamorphosis. In incomplete metamorphosis, an egg, laid by the female, hatches into a nymph. The nymph looks similar to an adult insect, but is smaller and not as fully developed.
Okay, so what are some incomplete insects or insects that go through an incomplete metamorphosis? This one's kind of hard, right? Because whenever you think of insects, you think of like the butterfly, right? Or like we talking about the beetle, or like I can't think right now. I just had a brain fart. Or like a fly, right? Because there are maggots, right? And maggots really are kind of like flies, right? Um, so it's kind of hard to think of an incomplete or an insect that goes through incomplete metamorphosis. So if you can message me with an insect that goes through an incomplete metamorphosis, you'll get something in your bag next week, okay?
Usually, the nymph goes through a series of molts as it grows larger and begins to more closely resemble an adult. After many weeks or months, the nymph becomes an adult with the ability to reproduce. These are just a couple of examples of insect life cycles.
All right, guys. So we just went over through insect life cycles, right? And the 4 different stages that they go through, right? Okay, so now we're going to talk about the plants, the different stages that they go through. And y'all kind of already did this on Tuesday too, and we weren't as prepared as today. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. But let's go through that real quick. So let me exit out real here. Exit. There it goes. Let's go to the other one. Where is it? Okay. Come on, a video. There it goes.
Next time you get a chance, Count the number of different kinds of plants around your home. There are hundreds of thousands of different kinds of plants on Earth. Scientists place plants into groups to make them easier to work with and to study. You observe. What's the major difference between these two plants?
Okay, so what are some visual differences that we can see of these two plants? So the most obvious one is, of course, color, right? So this one's like a pretty lavender, almost purpley, and this one's green. Another thing that we could say is that this is a flower, and that this is a leaf, right? What else can you come up with? I'll let y'all think about it. And then talk about it with your mom or your sister or whoever's around y'all. What are some other differences that you can visually see?
Two plants. That's right. These ferns are non-flowering plants, and these are flowering plants. Flowering plants are the most abundant plants on Earth. Let's take a quick look at the general life cycle of flowering plants. These garden seeds will eventually develop into adult bean plants. Following a resting period, a seed will germinate if it receives water, the correct temperature, and oxygen. In the process of germination, a seed sprouts, or in other words, it begins to grow.
All right, guys. So germination, just to kind of iterate what she just said, a germination is whenever you have whenever you have like the actual seed. So let's pretend that I do have like a bean seed, okay? So do y'all remember maybe like in first or second grade, y'all took the bean, right, and then y'all put it in like a Ziploc bag, right? So and then you added some water and then you put it on the windowsill, right? What happened? So you got some roots started coming out of it, right? And then maybe like one or two green little leaves started popping out. That is germination, okay? It's the very beginning process of a seed turning into a plant, okay?
The nourishment for these early stages of growth is provided by the energy within the seed. If conditions remain favorable, the seed develops roots, a stem, and eventually leaves. Once a plant develops leaves, it has the ability to produce its own food from the sun's energy through the process of photosynthesis. A mature flowering plant eventually develops reproductive structures we refer to as flowers. Flowers have both male and female reproductive structures, which you can sometimes see, even though they can often be quite small. The wind and animals, such as birds and insects, often help plants reproduce through the process of pollination. Pollination involves transferring pollen from the male plant part to the female plant part. This eventually leads to the development of fertilized eggs, which then mature into seeds. Flowering plants commonly produce fruit which surround the seeds. You've probably enjoyed eating some of these fruits, such as apples, oranges, and melons.
Okay, so let's go back. So there are flowering plants, right, and non-flowering plants. Usually the flowering plants, where are their seeds? Inside of the fruit, right? So literally anything that you could possibly, like strawberries or blueberries, apples, oranges, I'm going blank. Those, even a cucumber, those are flowering plants, okay? So their seeds are within the fruit, okay?
In nature, fruits containing seeds fall to the ground or are eaten by other animals. Eventually, seeds make their way onto the ground and germinate, starting the cycle all over again.
Oh, it's still going. Okay, so do y'all remember that I told y'all that both plants and animals, their main goal is to make copies of themselves, right? Basically to just make some more of themselves, right? So the plants do this by creating the fruit and the seeds, right? And then the animals, why say animals? Insects. They do this by laying more eggs, right? Okay, so now that you have watched those two, so this is this is today's activity. So it says, you may cut out or number the pictures from the next page. Then you will draw and label your life cycles. You may use the word bank at the bottom of this page. Do y'all remember seeing this kind of similar on Tuesday? Okay, so this is the word bank that we will be using again. Ooh, move out of the way. Okay, so egg, larva, adult pupa, seed, leaf, flower, fruit. Okay, we're going to be talking about the tomato, the beetle, and how they are like and how they are different. Okay, so I know that y'all don't have this paper at home. So y'all have notebook paper at home, right? So again, y'all can draw it out and write it just how we did on Tuesday. But this time it'll be about the tomato and the beetle and how they are alike and how they are different. Okay, so I gave you kind of a couple of different ideas that y'all hadn't thought about for how they are alike and then how they are different. So do this activity, take a snapshot of it, and then send it over to us, okay? And that will be it for science. All right, guys, so tomorrow, remember, it is Friday. It is a catch-up day. We don't have any math, science, social studies, or science. So it's just if you haven't finished something, that's for you. That's just some extra time for you to finish it, okay? And then please don't forget to do or log on to iStation so we can get our 60 minutes done. All right. We will talk to y'all later, and y'all have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.